The Farmer, a story about fate. There was an elderly farmer who possessed a group of horses. One day the horses broke through the enclosure and the entire herd fled into the wilderness. Upon hearing the unfortunate news, the old farmer's neighbor arrived and remarked, "This is truly unfavorable luck for you." The old farmer simply responded, "Perhaps." The following day, to everyone's astonishment, the herd returned, but with a magnificent ebony stallion among them. This stallion was a valuable asset. Once again, the neighbor approached the old farmer and said, "This is exceedingly good fortune for you." The farmer merely replied, "Perhaps." The very next day, the farmer's son attempted to mount the new ebony stallion, fell, and fractured his leg. Once more, the neighbor appeared. "This is exceptionally ill-fated luck for you." Once again, the farmer let out a sigh and said, "Perhaps." A week went by, and the military arrived in the farmer's village to conscript all the young men. The army captain approached the elderly farmer and demanded that he surrender his only son. Unfortunately, the farmer's son was hobbling on crutches, nursing a severely broken leg, and the army moved on to the next farmhouse. Understandable from the story, it requires humbleness to accept destiny. There is a vast amount of knowledge we can never attain about the unfolding of events. There are always unforeseen manners in which circumstances develop, whether positive or negative. However, the one undeniable aspect is that there are numerous variables beyond our control. We possess the humbleness to recognize that we are uncertain of the precise course of events, and we possess the courage to spare ourselves from futile fretting. The Cook, a story about flow. A chef was dismembering an ox for his employer. Each fluid motion of his wrist, every rotation of his elbow, every thrust of his shoulders, every swivel on his toes and heels, and every smooth action of the knife were in flawless synchronization, resembling the components of a majestic symphony orchestra. "This is truly marvelous," exclaimed the cook's employer. "How did you acquire such expertise in the art of butchering an ox?" The cook set aside his knife and replied, "I have acquired the ability to simultaneously act and exist, to be fully present without wandering thoughts of the past or future. This surpasses any butcher's manual." When I initially began carving up oxen, my vision encompassed the entire creature. However, after 3 years, I had learned to perceive the ox not as a unified whole. Now I operate with my heart rather than relying solely on my eyes or hands. I disregard my senses and follow the guidance of my spirit. In doing so, the knife naturally traces the contours and glides through the vacant spaces, utilizing what is present and what is absent to my advantage. In this manner, I avoid the bones and cartilage. A skilled chef replaces their knife annually. An ordinary chef replaces their knife each month. I have been utilizing this particular knife of mine for 19 years. It has sliced through countless oxen. However, the blade remains as sharp as the day it was crafted. The majority of the animal consists of empty space, and the blade of the knife possesses negligible thickness. There is no resistance when passing something as thin as a knife's blade through empty space. Certainly, there are challenging sections yet. When I come across a difficult part and anticipate its difficulty, I exercise caution and take my time. Then, with utmost gentleness, I maneuver the knife until an empty space emerges and the resistance naturally dissipates, akin to the clearing of fog under the morning sun. Subsequently, filled with a sense of contentment, I wipe my blade and store it away. Following a prolonged silence, the cook's employer remarked, "I must express my gratitude, my dear cook, for your tutorial in butchering has enlightened me on how all tasks should be approached. This is a tale concerning the state of optimal performance. Occasionally, when we exert excessive effort or engage in excessive rumination, we obstruct our own progress. Optimal performance entails surrendering oneself to the action at hand. It involves being completely absorbed in the experience. When we are genuinely attentive and when we operate from a place of genuine passion, we discover the most effortless course.